If you're using intermittent fasting to lose weight, you're probably wondering, what can I drink during my fasts? Is coffee okay? What about diet soda? Should I be taking electrolytes? There's so much conflicting advice when it comes to this question, so I've spent the last week watching videos by these 5 fasting experts, and I've compiled all of their answers into this fancy schmancy list so we can see where they absolutely agree and the gray areas where their opinions differ. Let's start with the obvious. Unless you're doing a dry fast, you will be drinking water. Each of the 5 experts I chose, Dr. Berg, Thomas DeLauer, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Jason Fung, and Dr. Sten Ekberg all agree that most any form of unflavored water is fine, from distilled to spring to mineral and sparkling. Now, they also agree on some other drinks besides just plain water, but this all depends on your goals. In other words, what are your reasons for fasting? Because there's a huge list of potential benefits that may motivate you to want to fast. And while I can't cover them all in this video, the 2 that I hear most often are autophagy and weight loss. If you're fasting for the primary purpose of autophagy, these experts, as well as research, tends to suggest you should just drink water. But if you're fasting for weight loss, most of the people I've coached have had other drinks during their fasting windows, because there are some drinks which will still keep your insulin levels low and keep you in ketosis and fat burning mode where you're still losing weight. So the 5 experts I've chosen agree across the board that black coffee, green tea, black tea, and most herbal teas are fine. You do want to be careful with some of the herbal teas though, to make sure that they don't have sweeteners in them, because these can trigger hunger and potentially insulin. Usually the fruity flavored ones, if they taste sweet, should be avoided during your fasting times. Now, a couple of these guys, like Dr. Fung and Thomas DeLauer, point out that coffee and green tea might actually enhance your fasting and your weight loss. Caffeine can help with suppressing hunger, and there might be a little bit of a benefit in terms of fat burning and even autophagy. But just so you know, we're not talking about massively different results from just water fasting. I've personally done well over 100 fasts that range between 36 hours and 9 days long. And I've been intermittent fasting for almost 10 years now, since losing more than 40 pounds in a couple of months. And for most of these fasts, I have used coffee or green tea, because I've found that caffeine does help to suppress my hunger and make my fasting easier. Now, if you can't stand the taste of plain water, or you just get bored with it, so bored of plain smelling air, you can add a little bit of lemon or lime juice. Just don't overdo it. Oh, it's disgusting. And all 5 of these experts also agree that apple cider vinegar won't break your fast. They also agree that electrolyte mixes that are unflavored are probably okay, but likely unnecessary. If you feel you need to get a little bit of salt to get minerals like sodium, chloride, potassium, or magnesium, you can add a little bit to your water. I've actually found that this can help when I'm feeling fatigued or I have a headache during longer fasts. I usually just add a pinch of sea salt to a glass of water or a cup of tea. But if you're doing intermittent fasting and you're still eating every day, you likely won't need to add any salt. And most supplements, just like electrolytes, are probably okay, but also unnecessary. And we're talking supplements, not prescribed medications. When it comes to medications or even supplements that have been prescribed to you, you'll need to talk to your prescribing doctor before you start fasting. Dr. Berg, Thomas DeLauer, Dr. Berry, Dr. Fung, and Dr. Ekberg all agree on having water, tea, coffee, lemon and lime juice, apple cider vinegar, and salt. Now, here's where they all agree upon what breaks a fast and therefore should be avoided. 100% avoid alcohol when fasting, although you might get pretty tipsy on an empty stomach. Alcohol is a toxin, so anytime you ingest it, your body will prioritize detoxification over ketosis and fat loss. And yes, there are calories in alcohol. And anything that has significant amounts of carbohydrates or protein is going to kick you out of ketosis, which will stall your weight loss and break your fast. So anything sweet like sugar, honey, agave, juices, and milk is off limits. This also means that flavored coffee creamers are a no-go. Most soy and nut milk products should be avoided, and coconut water is also out. They also agree you should avoid BCAAs, or branch-chain amino acids, collagen protein and protein powders, as well as bone broth. All of these drinks will affect your insulin levels because of the amino acids, the protein, and sometimes sweeteners. Now, bone broth can be a really good way to break a longer fast, and it can be used as a transitional beverage when you first start to try out longer fasting windows. But if you want to experience the best results, you'll eventually want to avoid it during your fasts because it does have a little bit of protein in it. And speaking of transitional beverages that can help you get through those longer fasts, let's talk about some of the maybes, where these guys don't always agree with one another. Heavy cream in your coffee. Ah, yes, the one I get the most comments about. So this is something I still do when intermittent fasting for maintenance, but it's probably not the best for weight loss. Dr. Fung and Dr. Ekberg say that it's fine in small amounts. Dr. Berg and Dr. Berg, they say maybe. And Thomas DeLauer says no. If a little bit of heavy cream or half and half helps you out when starting intermittent fasting, then maybe use it until you can wean yourself off of it. Or if it works for maintenance, like it does for me, it's probably not an issue. And the same thing is true of healthy fats and bulletproof coffee. Thomas DeLauer says no, primarily because of the calories. But the other 4 experts, they all say maybe, depending on what your goals are and where you're at with fasting. So things like MCT oil, butter, ghee, coconut oil, they may allow you to sustain a longer fast more easily. And they'll keep you in ketosis because they don't usually affect insulin, but they do add calories to your fast. So you'll likely experience better weight loss results if you avoid these. And they may be a better idea for when you're in maintenance. And what about everyone's favorite controversial subject? Diet sodas and other artificial sweeteners. Dr. Fung, Dr. Berg, and Thomas DeLauer say maybe, though they admit it's not a great idea. Dr. Ekberg and Dr. Berg say no to diet sodas and artificial sweeteners because they tend to make you hungrier, they can trigger an insulin response, they might disrupt your gut health, and some of these chemicals just aren't very good for you. But if you're really gung-ho or curious about diet sodas, you might need to test this one out for yourself. But again, if you want to play it safe, just avoid them. Which also means that energy drinks and pre-workout drinks are also probably off limits while fasting. And you definitely should avoid any products that have sugars or BCAAs. Now, there's a few other minor ones that I found when researching these 5 experts. And if you want to check out the entire list, you can download this sheet for free using the link in the description. And yes, I'm well aware that there are other experts out there aside from these 5. And you may find contradictory advice from other people. You don't need to message me telling me that I'm wrong because Freddy the fasting fiend says no coffee. Don't you do it. Don't you message me. No, I would actually love to hear what you've heard from other people, so feel free to drop those in the comments below. And if there are any drinks not on this list that you still have questions about, drop those below and I will get back to you. But here is something that I only recently tested out that has proven to be an absolute game changer. I noticed the results are exponentially better for hunger, for energy, for weight loss, and for autophagy. So check this video out next to see what happened when I optimized this for a 3-day fast. Ugh. I think I got the black lung pop. It's all over me.